Thank you. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Pancho. It means a
Oh,
it means a lot. It really does. It's a huge help. We now have the Tibetan bell, bowl, instead of the other bell, because thank you. It's a little better. Plus, I can make it sing if you want, but we won't do that right now. No, really, thank you. We have John B. Phillips with us tonight. What's going on, of course, is we have part three tomorrow, and then there will be a part four as well, which is a much shorter piece next week. It's sort of how he concludes. He had one other encounter. He actually had four, and at some point we'll bring him back to have him do the fourth one that he had, which was pretty amazing because it was something he I think remembered from childhood, and it's a great story. It's in his book, and I think it'd be really cool to do. But for now, next week will be the last of that series. And then I just talked to Mario Woods, who, if you don't know who Mario Woods is, look him up on on YouTube. There's a couple of interviews with him, and he's a pretty amazing guy, and he's been through some pretty amazing things that are actually spectacular. So he's bought some camera gear and equipment in because he's on the East Coast, and he's going to shoot himself in 4K and send it to us, which is amazing. I mean, it's so nice of him to do that. And of course, we're going to have Yvonne Smith and myself in a show together about the Coronado mass abduction in 1993. I think it was three. Yeah. Yeah. And I just finished the script today for Reporter X, Xavier Banner. He's the character, and it's a pilot for a hopeful new TV series. And we're very excited about it. And Jill's involved in that. In fact, we wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for Jill. Um, and one of the things I know you guys love the music, but this is YouTube music that we get to use because we're YouTube partners, but we can't use it in the series, which is a film, which is fictional, based on real stories and real accounts of UFOs and abduction and stuff. So we have to get a composer for that. So it's going to be interesting. So, but let's bring John on because that's why we're here. Hi, John, and welcome to Breaking the Silence.
Hi, Steve. Good to see you.
Yeah. So where do we begin? You have a different perspective on all this, at least with regards to certain beings or entities, if you will, than a lot of the people here have. And
I,
we're here to listen to you. We don't pass judgment. We don't cherry pick this phenomenon at all. Otherwise, we'd be missing out on some pretty important data and some pretty important experiences. So, shoot.
okay. Well, I'm not like your other guests in the sense that I don't have conscious memories of abductions.
Mm-hmm.
I only strongly suspect that I have had those experiences and that there's something going on, and I have a connection to this event, this contact event that we're all having. I had a childhood UFO sighting, and I wondered if I could share my screen. I'm going to try it. Is that all right?
You do have share screen down there, so I'm sure you know how that works. You know your way around a computer.
Oh, is this the button?
It should
Yeah,
say
I've got
uh,
it.
under present.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah, under present. Yeah, we're this is not the free account. We pay for it, so you should have all the toys.
Well, I put together some slides,
Okay.
and I have PowerPoint presentation that we could just bounce back and forth in.
Sure.
And I am trying to get this to do what I want it to do. It's sharing my online. Oh, let's see, window.
No, what you
There
do
it
is
is.
you pick the
I've got
folder
it.
and it'll say, do you want to show that? It
Can you
works very well.
can you see it?
Yeah, I sure can. So here we go.
All right.
Oh,
When
there
I
it is. Okay. Excellent.
when I was 6 years old, I saw this flying saucer close up in broad daylight. Um, and I remembered it. It was. I'll go ahead and tell the story.
Sure. Tell the
It
story because you shared it with me when we talked last time, and it was great.
yeah. I was 6 years old, and I rode my bike home from school one day in the fall of 1973. And my dad had bought a brand new GMC truck, and it was parked outside the house. And that's how I know when this happened. As soon as we got the truck, we started to cut brush and prune trees. And at this time, our neighbors' horses had been acting up, acting like they were afraid. They were running around and snorting and kicking up dust. And I wondered what's wrong with the horses. So on one of our return trips from the dump, as we approached the house, I could see the horses were freaking out. And I'm in the truck in between my parents. I'm 6 years old. And I looked up through the windshield and I saw this flying saucer. And it was perfect. It was chrome, like polished chrome. And it had the primary color lights on the top and bottom. It was not very big. It seemed like the diameter of it was about the length of the truck. And I stared at it for 2 or 3 seconds. I wondered how many people can fit in there.
Mm.
And I said to my dad, I said, "What's that?" I don't know if you can see me, but I pointed at it.
Oh yeah, we see you.
"What's that?" And Dad said, "Those are Phelps's horses." I said, "I know those are horses, but what's that?" And when I pointed up a second time, it was gone. So that's my sighting. And then I subsequently had some dreams. Oh, I have to get back to the screen now. So I had subsequently had some dreams as a child and as an
Thank you, Tina.
adolescent and a teenager that were dreams of falling from a tremendous height that recurred over and over, and landing in my bed somehow. Dreams of an Indian guru who would come into my bedroom. This was a recurring dream. An Indian guru would come into my bedroom and press on my sinuses, and I would try to get up and run away, but I couldn't. But my soul seemed to leave my body, and I would get up out of my body and run to the stairs and float down. Strange, disturbing dreams, really. That
And you still remember them how many years later?
well, I guess it's 50 years later,
And
40,
don't you
50
find that
years.
surprising that you remember any dream 50 years later?
Yeah.
We
Yes,
all
I
do.
do. So I think something was going on there, but I
You
don't
think.
have conscious
Okay.
memories of it. But I've always felt this connection. Another thing about it is, as a child, after I saw the saucer, I thought, I wish they would come back and take me with them.
Mm.
One of the things I wanted to tell you was that my first day at Tom Thumb Nursery School, that was traumatic. My mother took me to Tom Thumb Nursery School for that
Okay,
first
here we
day.
go.
And I thought, wow, why would my mother abandon me here with these people? I don't belong here.
You don't feel like you were one of them and had no business being there.
Right.
I'm sure everybody in chat will find that real surprising.
Yeah.
I'm being facetious.
Yeah. So that I have that in common
We all
with
do.
with us, right?
Hmm.
I think of myself as one of us,
Hmm.
but I don't have the memories. So I'll go back to the screen share and I'll just continue on for a few slides. What my life was like prior to some of this stuff that I'm going to share.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
was.
is it your website or your Facebook page? I can't remember. That has a great deal of. Oh no, it's YouTube that you've got a great deal of information on there.
It's actually Substack.
Substack, that's correct. Yeah, we're both on Substack.
Yeah, I'll share my Substack link if that's all right here
That
in a
would be
bit.
great. Yeah, absolutely.
So
Hi, Rachel.
Pardon?
I was just saying hello to Rachel. That's how.
Oh,
The chat is very active.
so very quickly, what I did with my life was I ended up in a research project with my dad. Dad had Parkinson's disease, and we participated in a research project in Virginia Beach. We used the Edgar Cayce health readings and the wet cell appliance to treat Dad's Parkinson's symptoms. What we accomplished was we reversed Dad's symptoms, and my dad went from being disabled basically to being rejuvenated and healthy and no symptoms after we applied this treatment for 6 months. So what we see on the
Wow.
screen there is Dad and I are circled in the picture, and this is the Venture Inward magazine that documented our participation in that research project.
Wow.
And that was in 1996. So I went back to Virginia Beach for massage therapy training after this, and I became a holistic health professional and massage therapist. And I did that for several years. And I was a volunteer in the American Massage Therapy Association and just active in my community and basically practicing holistic health. I was meditating. This flyer is a flyer that I made for one of our education workshops.
Right.
We got 20 people to show up, and that's a big success. So,
Wow.
then at this time, right around this time, my memories are a little bit fragmented about this. It was, I believe it was in the spring of 2014. I was targeted with directed energy weapons and mind-invasive technologies.
And who do you think was behind this?
It was the
Hi, Raven.
Idaho National Laboratories. If you wouldn't mind, I'll just quickly run through a few slides
Sure.
and we'll get this out of the way.
It's not in the way. This is why we have you here. This is your platform today.
This is my offering because I have used evidence-based research to look into these matters, and you'll see where I end up with it. Okay. What happened was, at the time I was attacked, people tunneled up underneath our house and started to invade my dreams with technology. And it resulted in scripted, interactive dreams. So I'm just going to click through this. This is a millimeter wave drill.
Mm-hmm.
This drills through rock and dirt. It melts or vaporizes rock and dirt so it can tunnel with no noise, no vibration, and no waste rock. The rock and dirt melts and forms a sealing rock melt liner inside of the tunnel. If it's loose or sandy soil, they use an additive to form the lining of the tunnel. So you understand what I'm saying? It's completely covert.
No sure, noise. And it makes it very strong. I mean, doing it that way.
Yes. This was one of the technologies that I discovered as I was working out. How did they do this? Who did it? What happened? And this is one of the things that makes my situation so dangerous, really, is because a lot of targeted people don't know where the attacks are coming from. they don't understand the tactics that are being used on them. But I did a lot of research, and I found this drill, and I found subterranean technology. So the other part of my experience that makes my targeting dangerous is concerning the dream invasion technology. Now, I found two sources, books that the first book on the left, My Synthetic Dreams, is a guy named Chris wrote it. This is his experience. He shares his experiences and a little bit of evidence-based research and some links and sources. The other book is a rather remarkable book, MK Tech Invasion and Mind Control. This book is a 430-page reference work, and the Dream Invasion chapter, which is titled Dream to Skull, that's 108 pages. So this phenomenon is being documented and experienced by large numbers of people in the targeted individual community. So as I was looking around at my situation, initially, a lot of things happened. But I was wondering, who did this? So I'm going to show you that.
If I may ask, when was this technology available to them? When did they actually put it into effect? Because so much of what we've experienced, I would think, would predate it, at least us older people.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And it's just the first thing I thought of is, we really don't know how sophisticated our tech has been and for how long, and how much of it's been told to us and how much of it's been kept covered up. So, I mean, we do know that 0-point energy is an effective thing, and they've kept that covered up since the 50s.
Yes. Yes, it's been decades.
Mm-hmm.
The subterranean technology was perfected in the early 70s, and then after they publicly demonstrated it, it just disappeared into the Department of Energy, never to be heard of again. And that's a nuclear powered underground machine that melts tunnels through the ground, subterranean. So they've had that. They've had the millimeter wave drill. Who knows how long? Or this particular one is just a toy. It's just 4 guys got together over the summer and scabbed this together with some borrowed equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at the landscape here. I lived in Pocatello down here in the south at the time I was attacked. I grew up in Arco up here, just adjacent to the Idaho National Laboratories. The Idaho National Laboratories has a 900 square mile test range. And they have their offices in Idaho Falls. And there isn't much else out here. I mean, I also went to Brazil to try to escape. That didn't work. Who has the technology to do what they did? Who has the power to seamlessly attack me in all the Western states, and the juice to have the Brazilians also irradiate me when I was in Brazil? Who has that kind of power? And when I started looking at the Idaho National Laboratories, I thought, I think I'm onto it. And as an aside here, the Idaho National Laboratories has placed this conning tower.
That's off a Washington class boat, isn't it?
It's a Sturgeon class.
Sturgeon?
Yeah. Sturgeon class nuclear attack submarine, the Hawkbill.
And 666.
Yeah, they put the conning tower right. And the Idaho National Laboratories was a nuclear facility and a weapons research and development facility, or it is rather. That's what it is. They developed compact nuclear reactors for submarines like the USS Hawkbill. They built 50 nuclear reactors. I don't know if you can see that on the sign. They built 50 nuclear reactors out there on the Snake River Plain.
Wow. You have a question from Anne.
Oh, okay. Should I stop sharing? And
Well, no, the question, no. She just asked a simple question. Can you see it? It's on the bottom of your screen.
it's not, I can't see anything but my slideshow.
Oh.
Why were you attacked? Why? That's, people love to ask that question. I can tell you that these people do not need a reason. It's their nature. I'll show you what's going on. I'll show you what's going on and what I found in my research.
Okay.
But the people, even though I was wise to, for example, 9/11, I started to understand what actually happened there. I was talking about it because I thought it was going to become a problem later. Although though I was doing those kinds of things, the answer to why did they attack you, and the answer is they don't need a reason. Okay.
Did you know about 9/11 before it occurred?
No, I didn't. It took me 10 years to accept what had happened, and I had to see evidence in order to accept it and understand it. So I think evidence is important.
Yeah, it is.
In my case,
I did have precognition of it.
you did?
Yeah, I even did a drawing of it, and it involved the Greys. So
Really?
yeah, I have the drawing. I could show it, but we're looking at what you have.
All right. Let me get back to the screen share part. This. So the Idaho National Laboratories, they're out there. They've got 900 square mile test range. They do national security state stuff for these 3-letter agencies. They have restricted airspace over the test range. They do classified program support. They do brain-computer interface design and development.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, they use they work with biological weapons and gene editing and stuff like that. That's what they're into. And this later article, this is a DARPA contract that Battelle had for brain-computer interface technology, wireless injectable.
You're welcome, Richard.
Decorated graphene brain-computer interface technology that they developed for DARPA. So that's what they're doing. That's what they're into. And also Lockheed Martin is out at the Idaho National Laboratories, and they are into directed energy weapons, mind control technologies, just weapons in general. So when I found all this, I thought, okay, I've got it. I know what happened. And I wrote and published my book, The Electromagnetic Revolution Federal Targeted Individual Program, Contributing Corporations of Federal Agencies in Idaho. So I published that in 2020, even though I didn't publish the paperback until this date here in 2021. So I found the directed energy weapons market was growing very quickly. The brain-computer interface market growing very quickly.
Yeah, Elon Musk is into that too.
Yeah, well, I think that the way that they present it and the Elon Musk stuff is kind of a cover. I think things have progressed and are much more sophisticated than what they're showing.
Well, yeah, of course they are.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all this stuff coming out, and you just know it's not even the tip of the iceberg. It's the one sliver of the iceberg,
Yes. So I started to find other people had been targeted, because when this happened to me, I didn't know anything. At my house, we all freaked out and we sold our house and ran away. It was a huge mistake, but that's what we did. So when I tried to run away to Brazil and that didn't work, then I came back here and I started researching and writing. And I found the work of Catherine Horton, who showed that from the 1960s to 2010, there had been a dramatic increase in the reported targeted individuals, more and more targeted individuals targeted every decade, She did research so where she could quantify and qualify people's experiences. She's a brilliant. So I then did a little bit of my own research. I did a search on Amazon, targeted individuals books. I treated it like a random sample. I got 111 returns that I vetted as being written by targeted individuals by reading, and I distilled from that information who published. It was I don't have that. Oh, 58 unique authors. I graphed them by their date of their first publication, and it showed that the targeted individual population was increasing over time, just like Horton's graph. And then I asked a question in a Facebook group. There are targeted individuals, over 100,000 at least, close to 200,000 in targeted in Facebook groups.
Wow. Well, it's easy access, isn't it? I mean, and we know that the shadow government's been experimenting on the public for years, going way back.
Yes, that is exactly right. And people don't realize it. People don't even realize it after they're already being affected. And I thought about this. I wonder, isn't it kind of like the abductees who wake up one day and realize, I think I have been abducted. And they start to dig into their memories and they find out it's been going on for decades.
Right.
Yeah. Well, the same kind of thing is happening with targeted individuals. And the poll that I asked them in retrospect, do you think you were targeted before you realized it? 80% of the respondents said yes.
Huh.
I chose the wrong slide for that one.
I go back to being 6 years old. That's 1958, and I have experiences I remember beyond that, but this was the hallmark: waking up in bed to absolute vacuum and silence, and seeing the beams of light coming in my room, and having that experience. I'm not sure they could do that back then. But you know what? They might be taking advantage of it. And I've thought this. I have had experiences, as you well know, from watching transcript 551. I've had that happen. So,
well, it seems like to me that the human element is learning from and copying the alien abduction tactics.
Yes.
Yes.
Because that's one way that they can get more information out of people who actually are having these experiences with the visitors. Because, to be honest, I don't think our government, our shadow government, whatever you want to call it, all the above, has any control over it at all. And they have no idea what they're really up to. And they're hoping that they can get that from us. And maybe they have to a certain degree.
They do.
Catkins is saying, are you talking Havana syndrome here? No, I don't think that's the same thing. Do you?
Well, I am. Mm-hmm. I'm talking Havana syndrome, but Havana syndrome is presented by the mainstream and by the national security state as something that affects a few diplomats. That is not true. Mm-hmm. The next slide is some of Horton's work that shows that people, no matter what their country of origin, when they run away to a different country, the targeting follows them and they get attacked wherever they go.
Right.
So the people who did have the resources to run found out you can't get away from it because it's global. There's global cooperation, at least between the intelligence agencies or whoever, whatever you want to call this thing.
Yeah.
It's a global thing. So there is a lawsuit, or has been a lawsuit filed, that targeted people have finally found a lawyer and
wow,
starting to get organized. There was a $1.3 billion lawsuit that was filed by Targeted Justice against the FBI, Department of Justice, and the Department of Homeland Security. The initial lawsuit got dismissed. The appeal was denied. And after the appeal was denied, the attorney, Anna Toledo, did a search and found out that they have dismissed 677 such cases.
Of course.
Yeah, most of them occurred after
None of this
2000.
surprises me.
Right. So the court said, well, we're going to dismiss this because we dismissed the last one. Okay. So that there's some judicial corruption going on, maybe.
Gee, you think?
Yeah.
Every day in the news.
And today, the Targeted Justice folks have done so much, more than anybody's ever done. And they are having today, they had a symposium. They got 5 attorneys talking about how to proceed and get this thing stopped. And
good luck.
Good luck is right. I think it's kind of similar to the abduction phenomena. Like, how do you stop it? A judgment in civil court probably won't do it, right?
No. There was a question up that asked, what does it feel like, this attack?
Well,
how does it manifest?
It's like a really bad case of the flu. Head hurts, nausea, ear ringing is intense. A perturbation of your nervous system that makes your nerves hurt, because what they are calling it now is they call it radio frequency radiation, but the effect of it is that it cooks away the fatty lipid myelin sheath around your nerves and in the white matter of your brain. So people's brains shrink and the insulation around your nerves is reduced or cooked away. And so it slows down your thinking process. It's painful. Getting pulsed in the head will instantly make me nauseous and make my head hurt. And it can be either being pulsed in the head or it can be just a steady kind of radiation that's just miserable. And that's a daily occurrence for me.
Wow.
And for many, many others. Targeted Justice has 15,000 subscribers to their Substack. So these are desperate people who want so badly for this to stop.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem to have anything to do with people who have had abduction experiences. If it does, it's somewhat coincidental. They, as you said, they don't need a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
But sometimes there is one, and we'll see a crossover here in a second.
Okay.
I just wanted to show Bill Binney, the former technical director of the NSA, is targeted.
Wow.
And he has formed an alliance and gotten married to Catherine Horton, who is a heroic targeted individual who has been an activist in this field. So Horton and Binney are both brilliant. Binney, as the former technical director of the NSA, he was targeted and started to have problems. And after they took his project Thin Thread, which was going to follow and surveil suspected terrorists, and they just replaced that with a mass data collection. And Binney said, wait a minute, this isn't right, don't do that. And they attacked him.
Wow. You have another question, John?
Yeah. Could you read it to me?
Yeah, Raven's a close friend of ours.
Could you read me the question, Steve?
Oh, also, do you think that the targeting is purely technological, or do you think people who can invade the thoughts of other human beings used as a part of a targeting of this targeting process?
Well, there's two things going on there, isn't there? There's the technological part, and then there's the development of psychic abilities or enhanced consciousness, or even in consciousness enhancing technology.
Sure.
So that's happening. Yeah, I think that both of those things are happening. Now, here's an example of crossover. This is Rowney Kildee. She
Hmm.
was the chief medical officer of Finland, equivalent to our Surgeon General.
Hmm.
Brilliant woman. And while she was held this position, she was abducted, and she had a medical examination, and she started talking about it. And after she came out and started talking about it, she was attacked with directed energy weapons. So here's an example of crossover where an abductee
Hmm.
who was vocal and influential got attacked with the weapons and eventually died from it while she was calling it out.
Wow.
So
Well, we know they're murderers.
right.
I mean, they've murdered a lot of people. We know a lot of friends of mine. Roger Lear was kind of one of them too.
Yes.
I mean, we were very close, and he that car accident was just odd, and I think it was. This is my own personal opinion, was designed to kill him. It didn't succeed, and ended up maiming him badly enough that he used to call me up and say, "I just can't go on living like this. I don't want to live in this pain." You know. So
I didn't know the details.
yeah, it was bad.
Well, I didn't. I didn't include any of the things that we had talked about concerning Dr. Lear
Right. That's okay.
but we're on the trail of the classified military contractor Battelle Memorial, who's been showing up in the UFO field since 1953, studying in the UFO phenomenon in great secrecy, according to Alan Hynek. They got caught writing the Pentacle memo, telling the Air Force what they could or could not say in the Robertson panel in
Right.
1954.
Right.
They and at Idaho National Laboratories, where I had my trouble, there was a 1954 sighting where witnesses at the INL reported blinding glow like an enormous floodlight overhead. The source remained motionless for a few seconds, illuminating the ground for several miles around. Then, rising at tremendous speed, the light vanished. It made me wonder if the UFO was X-raying the ground, because the research that I have done suggests that there's a massive underground facility out there underneath whatever they have above the ground. Well, they have a few buildings above the ground, not too impressive looking, but they have a $1.3 billion annual budget.
Yeah. There's
And
always that.
yeah,
And a
and
lot of dirt they can't account for where it came from.
they have the tunneling technology and the
Yeah. Well, you don't have an ocean out there. We have an ocean, so a lot of it's out in the ocean of where we are.
right. We have Anthony Braglia on Battelle's case. He's showing that Howard Cross, who wrote the Pentacle memo, was a metallurgist who was working on shape recovery metal after the Roswell
Right.
crash.
And
And then
that's that it's on a molecular level, it's like chainmail.
is it?
That's what
It-
I've heard, and but it has a memory.
right, the shape recovery metal.
Hmm.
Yeah, Braglia has a a picture of it on his website. I'll show you his website here in just a sec.
Okay.
We also have the Comptroller General in the 2023 Intelligence Authorization Act demanding that the intelligence community turn over all their UFO records from January of 1947. And he specifically mentions the national laboratories as being the recipients of alien technology transfer. This is from the congress.gov website, and it is the Comptroller General's order. And apparently they didn't obey the order. What they actually did was they tried to hide this by excising it from the electronic record, which is easy to find, and it still exists in the PDF. So more than one person is looking at Battelle and saying, is the technology there? Here's Braglia's website. He recently did an article about Sean Kirkpatrick, who resigned from A.R.E and went to work for Battelle Memorial.
Wow.
And he
resigned from them too.
Yeah. Braglia just roasts Kirkpatrick in this article. And he referred to Kirkpatrick's time as a CIA in the CIA. And I went to the Oak Ridge National Laboratory website, and I read Kirkpatrick's bio page, and I grabbed this off of there, that he was in the CIA. He's an intelligence officer. He's involved also in the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, which has the technical capacity to see everything on the surface of the Earth and track every object that comes in and out of our atmosphere.
Yeah.
And Anthony Braglia is describing here what this thing is. I didn't know what to call these people on your channel, so I thought I would call them the Breakaway civilization, because that's kind of neutral. And what he's describing is that Battelle Memorial has a no-bid sole source indefinite delivery contract to operate 9 of our national laboratories with no oversight. They can't be FOIA'd. They don't have to answer to anybody.
Right. That's just so typical with this stuff.
Yes. And there's this blurring of the lines between public and private, between government service and private corporation, that happens at Battelle Memorial.
I think this is why a lot of our whistleblowers, they're just fed up with this. I mean, it's just wrong, and more and more every day are coming forward.
Yes, and I think that people are catching on. Yes, that well, that's where I'll stop with that.
Well, this is our universe too, you know. Wow,
yeah.
but it's fascinating. I mean, it's just amazing, and you're only touching on a small part of the research you've been doing.
Right.
You might want to share at this time your was weird. Your Substack page with everyone, because that's where you have it all. You have it all there, don't you?
Yes. Okay. I do, and there's my Substack address, johnbphillips.substack.com. That's my logo. I made that logo back when I was a Bliss ninny many years ago.
It's very cool.
I used to teach, or not teach, rather. I was the group facilitator for a couple of Course in Miracles groups into meditation, and that's so. I also studying channeled thought systems, like the raw material. Is really drawn to the raw material.
Do you still meditate?
Yes. What I do now is more visualization work. Because I had meditated and avoided visualization for a long time, for many years, because I didn't want to create something that I didn't want.
Yeah, like monsters from the id.
Yeah. So I did the meditating in silence for many years, and then I got attacked. I used to ask, I said, what's my purpose? What's my service in the world? And then they attacked me, and it kind of seemed like to me, oh, it's my job to bring this to light. So that's the hard, dark stuff.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm trying to get myself transitioned into more back to more positive work, because I think that there's some hope there.
Though there is, and I go back to that night. I was on the phone talking to Whitley, saying I don't have a good ending for my film, but something is there. And I look up, and there's this enormous triangle silently cruising over the top of our house with three twinkling little lights. And then I heard in my head, "There's still hope. Don't give up." And when it comes to the people in our military and our government, there's a lot of bad people in there. I won't say they're all bad. And I've been told this many times by the whistleblowers I've come to know recently. Steve, we're not all bad. That's why we're coming forward, because we know this is wrong and this has to stop. So there is hope, John. There is really hope. And there are, I feel, beings that have our best interest at heart, and there are those that don't, and they are
Right.
working with our bad guys, and these are the real monsters.
That's exactly how I feel, Steve. That's exactly what I get out of it. Is I know there are benevolent ETs.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are some that are self-serving and negative.
Yeah, I'm not sure the grays are that. And a lot of people say they are, but then again, which grays? I mean, obviously, it's a big universe, and there could be many types of beings that look like grays, and some of them might be good guys, and some of them might be bad guys, and everything in between. But the universe is always fighting for balance, good and evil. I guess it always will. That's how it was built. But we still have to maintain a balance. If it shifts one way or the other too much, then it's just not going to work. It's just a sad fact. You have a question up there. Can you see it?
I see it. I don't still follow that currently. It's been several years since I read the raw material or checked in with LL Research. I've been preoccupied with this other thing. I think that the Indian guru who appeared to me in my room might have been a screen memory.
Yeah, it might have been. Although keep in mind, the indigenous people are very powerful, and they are very connected with the dream time and the spirit world, unlike us Westerners. It may have been a spirit, an indigenous spirit.
That's
And Mary and I
possible.
both have a fair a portion of indigenous blood in us, and I've also come to know that a lot of people have these experiences too as well. So, and I have deep feelings about the indigenous people of this country and around the world. I mean, the Aborigines are amazing, and so it may not have been.
Well, Steve, that is a great segue into another bit that I have brought with me to the show.
Okay.
I would like to share briefly some of the other stuff that is it's am I on the right one? Can you see my screen? There it is.
No, not yet.
Now?
There?
Can you see it?
Yeah, I can.
All right. Here's the Montana megaliths that I found up in Montana last year, up on the Boulder Batholith of Montana. I found this
megaliths.
Yeah,
Wow.
I found the sage wall. Here's one angle.
So did you actually go there and look at that?
I actually went there. I
And
heard
so how
about it.
did the stones fit together?
Let's look at a different angle. The
Wow.
stones are kind of pillow shaped, like you see in South America,
Yes.
where they've been. It seems like like they were marshmallows that got puffy and they got stuck together.
Hmm.
A lot of the stonework up there seems like that. A
But
lot
they
of
seem
this,
to fit very tightly together.
yeah. Well, the building that these people did is brilliant, but in the case of the Montana megaliths, it's not precise and perfect like in Egypt. It's playful and careless, but with immense skill they did
Well,
this.
if you look at the picture you were showing before, what this looks like to me, and I've seen this many times, is like somebody stood at a wall of rock on the side of a mountain and just carved it all out in sections and then moved it to another location and put it back together again like a puzzle. Because if you see the two stones there, they both have that concave in them, and yet it's two different separate pieces of stones if we're to believe it. But it looks like at one time it was one solid piece that had been cut very precisely and then put back together. um, I think we'd have a hard time doing that today.
Yeah. So the site has been authenticated by
Hmm.
Samir Osmanagic. He's the Bosnian pyramid guy. He said it's at least 12,000 years old. And it was geoscanned by Andrew Barker, who put a
Wow, look
date
at that.
on it at 72,000 years old.
72,000 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that on the left is the Tizer Dome, and here's a couple of shots of the Tizer Dome. And this one is my
That's
photo.
that's incredible.
Yeah, and
I
this
mean,
is
look at the trees next to it as a size comparison. My God,
it's
I've never even
massive.
heard of this before.
It's massive. Yeah, I have a video on my
Wow.
channel on my Substack. I went up there with a video camera, and I published the video. That's my first video, so it's very choppy, but it's out there.
Wow.
Here's the Starfire duolith that is part of the Montana
Why
megalith.
isn't this being covered more by the alleged big guys? National Geographic and Nova in the
I can't
propaganda
ex-
channel, as I call it.
I can't explain why. Julie
Yeah, I
Ryder
can't either, and
left.
I imagine that the Smithsonian wants nothing to do with it either.
Yeah. So on this massive Starfire duolith, you see this diagonal cut here
Hmm.
to keep those two from cracking or breaking.
Right.
If we take a closer look at the diagonal cut, it has a shim in it. It's designed to ride out earthquakes. I mean, that's brilliant stonework, right?
Yeah, it is. And how old is this? 72,000 years old.
That's what Andrew Barker said.
Wow.
Osmanagic wouldn't put a date on it, but he said it's older than 12,000 years, could be much older. Here's the evergreen dolmen. That's interesting. Here's a Bennu bird that was found out there.
Did they
And
carbon date that as well?
did they what?
Did they carbon date that?
They didn't carbon date it, no.
Yeah. But I
Um,
mean, it's probably built at the same time.
yeah, yeah. It could be 72,000 years old. Who knows? Older than 12,000. So the 12,000 year date that he puts on it is about the last time the Earth turned over, the last pole shift, right?
Right.
And I went up there and I dug all around, and there's 50 miles between the Sage Wall and the Tizer Dolmen, and in between there's all kinds of old ruins, debris fields like this, where I found geopolymer concrete in debris fields that contained millions of tons of granite. It's quartz granite. It's called quartz monazite. It's a type of
Mhm.
granite,
Yes.
and it has uh, the way they built it. They built these monuments on bases. So quartz, when it's under mechanical pressure, gives off electricity and
It
light.
does. Yep.
The piezoelectric properties of quartz. And these digital cameras pick up rainbow barcodes, orbs, and shafts of light
Wow.
coming up.
That's
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Isn't that
I'm
cool?
sure they'll try to tell us, well, the Ice Age rolled those boulders into those positions. And yeah,
Yeah, I know.
wow, look at that.
It's like
That's really,
yeah, reminiscent of some golden age where earth energy and consciousness was enough to transmit, energy, information.
sure.
I like that one. So it's so old that I looked into the Cayce material and the raw material, and it looks like it could be Lemurian. Here's Alexander Putney's map of the Lemurian evacuation. According to the Cayce readings and the raw material, they knew that the pole ship was coming and they left, and some of them came to North America. So I conclude in my Substack that those ruins could be Lemurian.
Wow. You have another question on there. Um,
Oh, I can't get out of screen share. Yeah.
it looks awesome. I lived in Missoula. Missoula. Oh, yeah. For a bit. I never heard of these. Please ask about the location and if these are in national forests. One of my visit events was in the Bob Marshall Wilderness area. Well, you have this locations listed on your Substack, don't you?
Yes.
Okay.
It's in between Butte and Helena, Montana, out here in the town of Boulder is right in the middle of it.
You got a bunch of people here wanting to go out there, and I don't blame them. I'm fascinated by megaliths. I have been ever since I first laid eyes on Stonehenge. I felt something so familiar about it. Do you know if there's under those megalithic structures that there have been any ley lines detected underneath them?
Oh, do I have that? Putney did a resonance map of like standing waves of earth energy, like
Right.
Tesla talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are nearby.
Under the
They're
rocks and stones, there's water underground, like the song
I never heard that.
Talking Heads.
Oh.
Once in a lifetime. It's a great song.
Yeah. Putney's brilliant, and there are he doesn't even know about the Montana megaliths, or else he would have mentioned it.
Huh.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, none of us do. I mean, it's just mind boggling to me. It's something that amazing, you know,
is being
it's just kind of you don't want to see that. Yeah.
it's being hidden, and according to Julie Ryder, who discovered all of this, they're taking it
Amazing.
apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're dismantling it and taking it apart.
They are.
That's what Julie Ryder said, and that's what I saw when I was there.
Plus,
Confirms what she said.
dismantling that, you apes, you couldn't possibly remove those stones.
I know. I don't know what they're going to do with some of that stuff.
What are they going to get some aliens to help them? I mean, because they can't even lift a stone with any equipment we have that size.
They may have the technology now to float stone.
Maybe,
We
but
don't
it's kind of
know.
too late because people are onto it and they've recorded it and they've taken pictures of it and video. And if suddenly it disappears, then some people will come forward and say that our government covered that up. Look, here's all the evidence that was there, and don't try to tell me I photoshopped this because I didn't. And you can prove that too. Wow,
So the
maddening.
yeah. So it looks like we're in the middle of another pole shift starting. It's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
Ben
Lots of fun.
Davidson. Yeah. The magnetosphere is weakening. The magnetic poles are wandering. And I think that could be driving a lot of the insane criminality that we're seeing in the world today.
But how come it's not affecting everyone? That's what's interesting. It suggests that there's, to me, and I'll get a lot of flack for this, but that not all human beings are created equal. It's almost like there's more than one species of human.
Oh, you mean like there's we're going to have a split or bifurcation of
I
human.
don't know. I mean, I don't feel like going crazy and going out and killing people and waving horrible flags and being a bully and stealing and taking over their freedoms and I'm not. I don't feel like creating tyranny on any level. No one else here does either. We're all very peaceful folks, and we're
Yeah,
explorers, and we're connected with our earth and nature and everything that lives, that crawls in front of us or swims or flies in the sky. So who
yes.
are these people that want to kill the place?
Hmm.
And how is this? And this is making it maybe worse.
Maybe it will accentuate those traits, and people will split,
I don't know.
positive and negative.
Yeah.
See, that's what the raw material suggests.
Right.
Um,
Oh, Orion group. So is that we're talking about Orion, the constellation?
yeah, the raw channeling labels one of the negative ET groups, the Orion group, and that the raw material says that their purpose is conquest.
Huh.
That they
Because
have. Go
I've
ahead.
I've always had a deep connection with the Orion and the nebula in particular, and familiarity with it. Also, and we all know, I think here, and I know you do, is that the pyramids are aligned to the way that the three starts in the belt were aligned 10,000 years before the Egyptians were civilized enough to even begin to do something like that. And why would they do that? Why would they arrange them to, and how would they even know how those three stars were arranged that long ago? And that's not the only thing. And to look at how they're parallel to the arm of our Milky Way galaxy. It's like a mirror of the way things were 10,000 years ago.
Yes, a
And we won't
mirror.
talk about the water erosion on the Sphinx, will we? We
I,
might
yeah.
upset a certain Egyptian scientist, archaeologist.
Well, the raw material to me is so fascinating, and there's so much that's so right on
Yeah.
when they describe how some of these things have come about. The Orion group has established an elite by giving technology transfer, and then, well, to me, it helps describe how some of this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ra talks about this shift in frequency. How they got off on talking about how thoughts become things, and how that's going to increase and happen more quickly and more as the vibration increases. Thoughts will become things. So
You know, it makes me wonder. Did you ever see the movie Forbidden Planet?
no, it's the old movie.
Yeah, it was done in the 50s with Leslie Nielsen, Walter Pigeon, and Anne Francis. Do you know the
Is
story?
is there a robot in it?
Yes, there
I
is.
I think I saw it.
This robot right here.
Oh, let me look. Which one? Oh, that I saw it. I
Robbie.
saw it.
Well, then you'll remember that the Krell, the civilization who was long gone, but yet their machine was still working. The machine was designed so that anything they desired, anything they thought of, would be created for them. But they forgot about one thing: their subconscious, their
Yes,
anger, and the monsters from the id. A
exactly.
brilliant story, and it makes me wonder if something like that's not here on our planet. Maybe that's the humming that people hear at night, and as I do, that there's some machine that's still working away, and what you think you create, some of us have the ability to use it, and others don't. I don't know. It's just a wild guess, but that film was my dad's favorite movie, and he showed it to me when I was very little, and it just really stuck with me all these years.
Yeah, I can kind of remember it.
Yeah, well,
Well,
they ended up destroying themselves as a result, but the machine went on.
well, thankfully, we don't need a machine. We have our consciousness. We,
Yes, well, yeah,
yeah, there's somebody who reads the raw material there making a comment. Yeah, fourth density, the shift
yeah.
fourth density, and
Wow.
the change in consciousness.
This has been great, John. It really, it's quite a departure from what we usually talk about, but incredibly fascinating. And I learned things I never knew about. But I think the things that really grabbed me the most were those megalith structures here in the United States. I mean, I knew there were some on the East Coast that were small and probably made by the Vikings who got here first, not you, Columbus. And, and there was even people before them, but those things are amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and that wasn't even all of them. There wasn't time or room to put them all in.
Wow.
So if you search Montana megaliths on YouTube, you'll find Julie Ryder's channel.
Right. Yeah. I wonder what Linda Moulton Howe thinks about that. Does she react to that at all, or anyone else?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, they may not be aware of it. You know,
Probably not.
and I don't think Whitley is. And I mean, I've known Whitley for 35 years. We talk all the time. I never heard him mention these. So I think they're very significant
Oh yeah.
because it shows something that a lot of people have been trying to prove, and that is this is not our first technologically advanced civilization of humans, that there was one before. There might have been more than one. I mean, look at the things we found in the earth that are millions of years old, that are perfectly round spheres and other objects that no one has an explanation for how they got there. So, wow. What people are talking about Orion's belt, they all reacted to that. Everyone has an interest in that. Wow, John, thanks for coming on our show and talking about all this. I won't call it wild stuff, but just amazing stuff. Amazing is
Okay, I'll go over there.
the word for it, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, sure. There's Mary.
Thank you, John.
Hi, Mary.
That's Mary. So, no, I
Great
really
talking to you
appreciate it.
tonight.
If anybody
That's
has any more questions they'd like to ask about of John, and now's the time to do it. And of course, tomorrow night at 3:50 begins the pre-premiere show. We'll be watching part 3 of Joe Stillwell's encounters, which are really different from just about anything we've ever dealt with before. And someone having encounters. I don't know if you've seen it or not, John, but it's
Oh yes.
yeah, he's and you know, he was right here, and you could just that what he experienced, he really experienced. There's no question about it. And it just goes to show me that, you know, as much as I think I know, I don't know a darn thing. You know, there's so many more visitors here of different types from different places than we can ever imagine. So
Yes.
you're being thanked for being here. And
Thanks, Catkins.
and we should catch up with you again at some point as your research and data increases. And don't forget, people, that a lot of people go to Substack and then they'll come back and say, "Oh, I can't afford it, or I don't want to pay for a subscription." They will show you the paid one first. Then but if you scroll down, you can join for free. There's a free option. But if you can help support, as many of you do, support my Substack, and I really appreciate it. John would appreciate it just as much. And I think I told everybody the other day, we just found out that Danny Sheehan is a paying subscriber on our Substack.
Awesome.
And he's also on Patreon, and I've never even met him. It's just funny, that I checked to make sure it was the same guy, and it is. So,
I like him.
well, he's trying to do a good job. You got another thank you there.
Thanks, Audrey.
Again, you can see people just don't understand how they've never heard about these things before, but it's not like it's made up. I mean, yeah, these are
It's written
huge
in
structures. You
stone.
just, yeah, exactly.
I went
Yeah.
there. I confirmed it.
Yeah, you went out there yourself, and other people can do that still. And if they're planning on dismantling, it ought to get out there soon.
Absolutely.
All right. Well,
johnbphillips.substack.com.
that's it. You can put the link up too. But anyway, we'll see you guys all tomorrow night. And thanks so much for the support tonight. And look forward to seeing you all tomorrow night in chat, you included, John. And we'll watch part 3.
Awesome.
Okay. All
Thank you,
right.
Steve.
Thank you, John.
Bye.
Bye.